Hi, my name is Sam, and today I would like to show you how you can access data using the 2020 Decennial Census Supplemental Demographic and Housing Characteristics file, or SDHC, using the Census Data Application Programming Interface, or API. Supplementing the data available in the Demographic and Housing Characteristics, or DHC product, the SDHC tables reflect especially complex relationships between the characteristics about households and the people living in them. The SDHC data is available for the nation and states and combines characteristics about households and people, including the total population in households, average household size by age and tenure, average family size, household and family type for people under 18 years old, and total population in households by tenure. Our data users have different reasons for choosing to use the Census Data API to get their data. Many find that it's one of the best ways to quickly request large amounts of data, while others find that it's the best way to get data that they plan to use in applications they create. I'd like to use the API for a different reason. My goal is to find the number of children under 4 years of age who live in both married couple families and cohabiting couple families in Iowa. This leads to another reason for why data users choose to use the API. I can get data just for the data points that I need. If you need a relatively small amount of data and would prefer not to have to query an entire table that would result in excess data that you don't want, the API is the better option. Getting data for just the data points you need and nothing extra is a major upside to using the API. To help me in figuring out the table that I can use to find this data, I went into data.census.gov earlier. I found that table PH6, Family Type and Age for Own Children Under 18 Years, has the data points that we need. Now let's go to the API so I can show you how to get these data points. Using your web browser, go to census.gov. Under the Data and Maps heading, click on Developers. Under the Developers heading, click on the link to the Discovery tool. Then click on the format that you'd like to view the Discovery tool in. For this, click on the HTML version. The Discovery tool houses all the different datasets found in the API. To locate the 2020 SDHC, click on Ctrl and F and type Supplemental Demographic and Housing Characteristics file into the search bar that appears. The dataset you want is the one labeled as Decennial Census Supplemental Demographic and Housing Characteristics file. To isolate the information for this dataset so you don't have to worry about the other datasets found on this page, click on the API base URL found in the last column and add .html to the end of it. Hit enter and you'll see that you now just have the API information for the SDHC. First, we need to find the variables that we need. To get the full list of variables, right-click on the variables link and choose Open Link in New tab. To find the two variables I need, it helps that I already know that I want data from table PH6 because I can use that to narrow down the variables. First, click on Ctrl and F and type PH6 into the text box. Skip through the matches until you reach the variable labeled PH6_COL1_R1. This is the first in the list of PH6 variables. Now, navigate to the group column on the right side of the page, right-click on PH6, and choose Open Link in New tab. This new page only displays the variables that are available for table PH6. Scroll down until you reach PH6_COL1_R1. The variables are named according to their placement in the table, so PH6_COL1_R1 is the variable found in the first row in the first column of the table. PH6_COL1_R2 is the variable found in the second row of the first column of the table, and so on. PH6_COL1_R21 is the last row of the first column of the table. The other variable names are adjusted slightly to reflect their placement in columns 2 and 3, which are respectively COL2 and COL3. I need to look through the list of variables for this table to find the ones for children under 4 years of age living in married couple families and those living in cohabiting couple families. The easiest way to do this is to click on Control and F and type under 4 years into the search bar. Skip through the matches, but only keep an eye out for ones that contain COL1 in their name. COL1 is the column for the estimated counts. It looks like PH6 underscore COL1 underscore R3 is the variable I want for children under 4 living in married couple families, and PH6 underscore COL1 underscore R8 is the variable for children under 4 living in cohabiting couple families. Take note of the names of both of these variables. Now that we have the variables we need, return to the information page where we initially selected the variables link. To get a list of example queries that can be used, right-click on the Examples link and choose Open Link in New tab. Here you can find example links for the geographies that are available with the SDHC. For this example, I want to get data for Iowa, so I want to focus on the state-level queries, which are geography level or summary level 040. The ampersand 4 equals portion of the query dictates the geography. The first query gives you data for every state in the US. You can tell that it is going to give this because it uses the wildcard, which is represented by an asterisk. Besides providing data for every state, this one can also serve a second purpose. It can help in figuring out the 2-digit Federal Information Processing System, or FIPS code, that is associated with each state in the US. You can see an example of a FIPS code in the second query that requests data for individual states. The 06 used in this query indicates that it's for California. By using the first query to find the FIPS code for the states you need, you can quickly get the code without having to waste time hunting around. We need data for Iowa, but what should you do if you don't know what its state code is? In instances like this, go ahead and use that first query to find out. Right-click on the first one and choose Open Link in New tab. When it opens, you'll see that it is listing out all the states in the US, which is the first portion of each line labeled as name. This is followed by the respective FIPS code, which is the second portion of each line labeled as state. Click on Control and F and enter Iowa into the search box. When the match comes up, we can see that the FIPS code for Iowa is 19. What's nice is that now that we know the code we need, we can easily adjust the query to narrow things down. Navigate to the query and replace the asterisk after state : with 19. Then hit enter. This isolates the output so the line for Iowa is the only thing you see. Now we need to add our variables to the query. Right after name, type comma ph6 underscore col1 underscore r3, comma ph6 underscore col1 underscore r8. Remember to include commas to separate each variable, but do not include any spaces. Once these are added, hit enter. Now you have the estimated counts for both variables in Iowa. Let's review this line of data as an example. The first portion is the name of the geography, Iowa. Next are the individual estimated counts that we got from the two variables from table PH6. In Iowa, using PH6 underscore COL1 underscore R3, we can see that there is an estimated count of 98,840 children under the age of 4 living in married couple families. Using PH6 underscore COL1 underscore R8, we can see that there is an estimated count of 16,424 children under the age of 4 living in cohabiting couple families. You can find out more about the estimated count variables as well as the low and high 90% credible interval variables in the technical documentation provided in the link below. The last portion is the state FIPS code, which in this case is 19 for Iowa. I hope this tutorial has helped in learning how to use the Census Data API to get individual counts from the 2020 Supplemental Demographic and Housing Characteristics file. For more guidance on using the Census Data API, please visit our resources page at the link below. Thank you.